Oh, thank you. Yes, we need an applause sign. Actually, I think that'd be really helpful. Anybody want to industrious? There's a pizza box here. We can.
You can hold it up. I've got Sharpies in my backpack. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. This is awesome. We're here at the show and telethon.
Yes, here live at the Kitty Vitty Brewery tap room, and streaming. Yes, woo!
It's a beautiful. If you haven't been here, I recommend coming down. It's beautiful.
Yes.
This is a great bar. Nice view. Good drinks.
Great people.
Tip your bartender.
Tell me about the Nickel.
The Nickel is a film festival showcasing independent film made in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada, and beyond. Yes.
And
it runs from
continue
June 19th to June 23rd. Starts a week from today. Is that correct? Yes.
That is correct.
That is correct. A week from today, folks.
Literally 1 week from right now, people will be in a theater.
What a special night this is.
So, it's not just going to be us talking all night.
That's right. Aren't you relieved?
Yes. We'd like to call up filmmaker.
Yes, Joshua Jamieson is the director of Waiting Outside. Joshua, do you want to come up and... Yay! Oh.
You can have that chair.
Okay. I'm stepping on your wires here. All right.
Don't roll the wheel.
Join us in front of the silver shimmery wall.
So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let's have a seat.
All right, let's do it.
So this is a real talk show now.
That's right.
Because
I'll cross my legs accordingly. There we go.
So, Joshua, you...
Ellen.
your film, Waiting Outside, can you tell me a little bit about that film?
Sure. So, Waiting Outside is a story about a gay father named Simon, and he has a daughter named Scout, and Simon's partner Felix is actually in the military and deployed overseas. So that's the character setup for the short film, and basically it's all about a very serious, life-altering event that happens to Simon, and the fact that he faces a huge decision, something that he has to deal with.
You gave you talked about your film today at the press conference, and you talked about why your film as an LGBTQ story is unique, why it stands out from what we normally see. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So basically, in the early 2000s, I was big into LGBTQ activism and helped the movement for LGBTQ adoptive rights and equal marriage. And when I started writing the short film, which is actually based on a poem by Carmelita McGraw, I started deciding how I wanted Simon's family to look, and I decided that I was going to make it a gay couple with an adoptive daughter, but I made a conscious decision to not spend precious time talking about how that family came together, just because I found in my experience a lot of the LGBTQ films that I've come across, they typically use the traditional tropes or cliches to advance the plot line, and any that are around that sort of a family construct, they spend time talking about how the family came to be in the first place.
Right.
So I decided that wasn't important, and that they were just an everyday family, just like any other everyday family. And one of the things that I highlighted at the press conference this morning was, as a filmmaker, I want to challenge myself to make films that tell human stories from an LGBTQ perspective,
right,
as opposed to writing a script that's creating just an LGBTQ movie.
Right, right. Do you have any advice for aspiring filmmakers out there?
In my particular production, I wore a few different hats, so
And it was a long process, too.
It was, yeah. It was a 4.5 year process.
Wow.
From 2013, when I first found the poem in the book, it was nominated for the BMO Winterset Award, and that's how I came across it. So I approached Karen and asked her if I could go ahead and adapt the poem to film, and that's what started the process in 2013. So it's been a number of years. And I think the best advice that I could give to an aspiring filmmaker is just to stay focused and stay dedicated. And one of the biggest things that I've learned over the years is that you really have to fight for your story. If you believe in your story and you believe in your film, you need to fight for it and make sure that it sees the light of day, and that's the only way that that's going to happen. And I was really reassured. I was lucky enough to participate in a film development mission that the Newfoundland Labrador Film Development Corporation put together, which happened in LA. And part of that was attending the Produce By conference. So we were able to interact with all kinds of well-established, known people in Hollywood. And one of the biggest takeaways from sessions that I attended that featured the Russo brothers and a whole bunch of other filmmakers is that they also face the same kind of challenges. They also have to work for years on end to try and get an idea to see the light of day. So it's very encouraging to kind of see and hear from people who you look up to, that they face the same process.
How do you hold on to that idea, though? Like,
Yeah.
how do you hold on to an idea that long and keep it the same?
Well, it doesn't stay the same.
Okay.
It doesn't stay the same. The original film that I set out to make, back in 2013, isn't necessarily how this film looks today.
Right.
We played with the structure, we played with the storyline, and the notion of having it all run in a linear fashion versus having two timelines running concurrently at the same time, which is what we ultimately ended up doing. But the film's final look and feel usually differs quite a bit from that first draft. I went through nine drafts.
Yeah, I was just going to say 9 drafts. Yeah.
I feel like that's low.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I got it easy.
Yeah.
The creative process. The first draft. How did you feel about the first draft? Or this third draft, actually?
Yeah, I haven't revisited them in a long time.
Yeah, you should go back.
And I mentioned Ruth Lawrence.
Just confront those regrets, or confront those, I don't know.
Ruth Lawrence was a producer on the project with me, and I mean, she's a seasoned pro. She knows what she's doing, and she gave me lots of really tough advice that I resisted at various points.
Oh, like what?
Just different choices about whether or not that storyline was linear versus versus having two storylines running at the same time. And she really made me question my character's motivations.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Which made me think about the choices that they were making, which changes a lot. Originally, Scout was actually a son, so that was a big change. So the script changed a lot over the nine different drafts, and the different people who were involved in the process kind of helped shape that.
How was it working with Ruth? It was amazing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Ruth is a powerhouse for sure, and stepping back and making sure that I absorbed every piece of advice that she was able to give me was an important part of the process. I also got to talk to Gia Milani, who's a really well-established director, and she read the script at one point and gave me some feedback on it. Wanda Nolan was another person who I was lucky enough to just have a casual conversation about the film with. So all of those different conversations over the 4-year period helped me rethink how I was approaching my writing and how I was approaching the script and translating that script to the actual screen. And then subsequent conversations with people like Brad Gover, who worked on the project, really helped shape the general color tone and the cinematography and the framing and all that kind of stuff. Lots to consider.
The community, like the film community here, seems really open that way. Like, you can just go up to people and say, hey, I've always admired your work. Would you take a look at this? Or would you listen to me and offer some advice? And it seems like, everybody will.
I think film in general is a very collaborative art form. I approach it that way when I'm on a set. If I've created a crew and I'm on a set directing a picture, I want to make sure that everybody that's on that set feels like they're a part of the process, feels like they're a part of the team, and that their ideas are going to be heard and not just listened to, but actually considered.
Right.
They say a good leader kind of steps back and lets the experts in different areas kind of guide and shape how they lead, and I think that's true as a director too. It's important for you to recognize the talents and the expertise of the men and women that are on your crew, and allow all of them to shine to their fullest potential, because that's the best and only way that you're going to get a really brilliant picture in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is a big part of being a director. You need to be a leader, and you need to be a boss. Like, you need to have the confidence to stand up and say, this needs to happen this way, and I'm making this decision, hey?
Yeah, there's a bit of that. I mean, you don't want the team to sort of all be kind of running around without any sort of solid, clear decision-making process happening on the set. But I really do think that it's super important for the director to make sure that they listen and absorb as much as they can as well, and all of that gets reflected in the end. I have to mention that Roz McPhail also worked on the film, and she created a completely original score that is absolutely exceptional. And it's kind of, I mentioned earlier that Carmelita, a poem inspired the film, and I released a book of poetry when I was 18, so I kind of have this sort of special love for poetry, and that poetry book sort of came out as my sort of roundabout way of getting at songwriting and lyric writing, because that's something that I always liked. So I was very lucky that I sort of got to check that bucket list off the list, and I co-wrote the lyrics with Roz for an original song that is played over our closing credits. So that was all a really interesting process, and just talking to Roz about the tone and the tenor of the music, and how the music is also a character in your film. And I think the City of St. John's is also a character in our film as well. I think it plays prominently. We feature the Peter Pan statue in Barron Park for some very conscious reasons. So it's not just the actors that stand out in it as well. It's the score and the setting and all of the different elements.
What are you working on next? What's next on your bucket list?
Well, one of the folks that's in my short film, Clint Butler, he is working on a few different projects. He's been sort of writing and sending me things to read, and I've enjoyed that process with him. But in terms of my own stuff, I'm actually kind of interested in conquering the idea of writing a novel.
Oh yeah.
But I also want to stay in that film area, and the characters that I've created in Waiting Outside, I think there's a much larger story to tell with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Elling talked a little bit at the press conference today about how the general storyline, the structure of the plot, it kind of bucks the trend. Yeah. And when people see the film, it kind of cliffhangs a little bit.
It teases.
Yeah.
It teases. It actually plays with the expectations of an LGBTQ film, right?
Yeah.
Like the audience. It reminds me of the movie. Elling. It's strange that I bring that up because my name is Elling. But there's a Norwegian movie called Elling that it's about a person who has mental health issues and has been institutionalized for such a long time. But then he goes out into his own house at a certain point. But the typical kind of scenario would be that he would fail all the time, like in that kind of storyline. But it always just kind of leads the audience up to that point, and then just like he succeeds every single time. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful way of playing with the expectations, and I think you did that really well.
I wanted to do that pretty consciously with this film, just because the end note that it sort of leaves the audience with is kind of one that sort of bonks you over the head, and it's the whole MO of the film is to inspire conversation about the fact that you don't really know what's going on underneath the surface. Right. You can make all kinds of observations about people and learn everything that we think we are learning, but it's still conjecture.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to sort of get a conversation going around, the notion of. So because it ends in that sort of cliffhangy sense, I want to sort of see what happens with Simon and Felix and Scout.
I want an LGBTQ sci-fi. that is not focused around the idea of LGBTQ issues.
Yeah.
Like, I just want like more gay characters in space.
Well, yeah, Star Trek did that. Well, they're starting to do it. They're
Oh
toying
yes,
with it a
right.
little
Yeah,
bit.
the science officer.
There are a couple
Yeah.
of LGBTQ characters on that program, and that's kind of a nice situation where it just happens
Yeah,
to
it
be
was
a
just mundane.
facet of
Yeah.
who those people are.
Yeah, it was
and
awesome.
that's kind of what I'm getting at in that whole idea of just talking about human characters and telling human stories.
Right.
And
It's
not
human
being,
experience.
Yeah, just the LGBTQ aspect of those characters is simply
Right.
an aspect.
Right.
But those people, that community, brings a different perspective that's important to be seen and heard from.
Totally. Yep. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much.
Do you have any final words? Or,
Just come see the film. It's on June 20th, so it's Wednesday night at the LSPU Hall, and we're screening just after
the 6:30 showing? No.
the 8:50 showing.
8:50 showing.
Yeah,
8:50
we're right
PM.
after Just Be Gemma, so
Excellent.
please come out and have a watch.
Woo!
Right
Thank you.
on.
Thank you very much, Joshua.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Round of applause for Joshua.